Time to put some windows in my old 911, and this is real glass. I'm gonna try to make some plexiglass windows, or LEXAN more correctly, LEXAN windows for this car. Wish me luck, hope it works out.
Garage time.
I'm using this glass as a template, and I had some of this old masonite laying around. It says 11 on it. That was a house number for some friends. But I'm trying to get the curvatures right and the positioning right. So this was a template. Now it's time to cut it out of actual plexiglass on the CNC router. Windows. Okay, this LEXAN sheet is about half the thickness of the actual glass. This measures about 180 thousandths, and this is 93 thousandths. So 2 of these would equal 1 of these. And I wanted it to be thin, lightweight, whatever, but I've also come up with a border to go around the perimeter to get the edge the same thickness, but still make use of this really light plastic. It might be too flimsy, so this is really an experiment, but we shall see. The router bit comes up and over and then back down. That leaves what they call little tabs here, prevents the sheet from slipping because it's held on in the perimeter, and the piece you actually care about is in the interior. So you don't want it to slip or move while it's cutting. The tabs are not even full thickness. They're only half of the thickness. So it's pretty simple just to sand those down flush. The other thing I'm dying to know is how well I trimmed this to fit. This side here is overhanging, so it's a little bit too long. Not sure what happened in the CAD model. I missed it by a mile, so. I had multiple lines on there, and I think when I programmed the CNC, I might have selected the wrong line because that's the same way this old one fit. And I had made some improvements to this one. There's a few different ways to bond this thickness strip here along the top. It's also going to be needed along the sides, so it actually makes contact with the stock channels, the stock seals. So the easiest way is to glue it. And I've already tried super glue. Super glue turns the plastic cloudy. It's not great. There is an acrylic glue, which I have, and it doesn't make it cloudy, but you're constantly fighting bubbles. The other method is to use rivets, double flush rivets, so it doesn't affect the seal. So I did a little bit of experimentation with both methods. Let me show you. Okay, this is a scrap piece of the LEXAN, and this is the glued method. It's just a couple pieces here. You can see you can see through it. It's going to be hard here with the glare. You can see through it, but there are, like where there's good clamping pressure, it's perfectly clear. The perimeters are a little bit cloudy and a little bit bubbly. So depending how much glue you use and how much oozes out, it's a little bit tricky. And then this is the rivet method. It is perfectly clear. You got to clean it before you put the pieces together because sometimes you get a little dust underneath there. But it does look pretty good. It's flush on both sides. You can't really feel the rivet on that side. And then on this side, it's also flush. Doesn't quite fill up the countersink, but it's not bad. And then right here, this one's a little bit messed up because I over pressured it when I squeezed the rivet. So I think I'm gonna go the rivet method. I think it's a little cleaner, but it is a little bit more tedious, probably a little bit more work. The other advantage of using the strip, especially along the sides, is that in the car, the windows aren't actually flat. They actually have a curve formed into them. And by using the strips, I can pre-stress the plastic and then rivet it together, and it should retain some of that shape. This is what the rivet squeezer looks like. It's just got two flat dies in it. Each of the dies look like this. It's just a flat kind of circle. Go a little more spacing, probably 1.8 apart. I can go ahead and polish the edges a little bit if I really want to. Right now it's sanded with like 180 grit. Okay, for the sides of the plexiglass, I have it just resting here on top of the factory window. And like I said, that's gonna create some curvature. So this strip right here is the one that goes on the side. And I think I'm going to dab some glue on this one. This one will never be seen. So that'll help hold it in place at the right curvature while I drill the holes. While the glue is drying, I'm gonna mark where the frame is relative to the door. The frame position is adjustable. So I think in order to get the window in, I'm gonna have to remove the frame. So I just wanna mark it. Here's a quick tip I learned the hard way. When you're removing the Allen bolts from the front of the door, it's better to sacrifice one of these Allen wrenches and create a little relief in there because that's where it contacts the paint. So the sharp edges of the bit can kind of chew into the paint a little bit. So I like to relieve that a little bit. Even better than that would be one of these. This is the kind that has the ball on the end. It would be better to start with the one with the ball on the end so you can get a bigger angle on the threads or on the hex. So just a little tip to keep you from scratching the paint. This is the part I was talking about, see how it gets really close to the paint right there? So when you're trying to get that bolt out, you can just relieve the wrench a little bit so you can spin it out. I'm shining my flashlight on a bracket. It does detach from the aluminum frame, but I'm gonna leave it attached just so I don't lose that adjustment. That's a pretty important adjustment. Yeah, there's that bracket right there. I'm gonna leave it attached. I think I can get the window in without completely taking that apart. So that's what I'll do. Okay, that should do it. I haven't taken the protective film off yet, of course, but I got the 3 edges installed. It's a little cloudy where the glue is. I'm glad I didn't use the glue on the top for that matter. You can see well, it's a little dusty, but there's the little glue patterns in between there. You can definitely make it out. Okay, next up I have this aluminum strip and it's gonna go on the bottom of the window. I'm not using the stock regulators to wind the windows up. I'm going to be using a pull strap, and so I don't need those heavy regulators on the bottom of the glass windows. Yeah, these aren't the final screws I want to use, but that's what I have in my drawer. So I'm just going to get this mounted, and I can change the screws later once it's in the car. Okay, and that's my window. It is flimsy, but it's also very lightweight. Let's weigh this one compared to the other one and see kind of what the difference is. Yeah, this window, 2 pounds, 3 ounces. And the factory window is over the limit. So 6 pounds is the limit. So I'm weighing half of it at a time. And 5 pounds, 2 ounces. And here's the window regulator. It's about 4 pounds. So the difference in weight between the factory window and regulator, that's the wind-up regulator, is about 11.5 pounds per side. So that's a 22-pound difference just for the side windows alone, which is pretty attractive. That's why I'm trying it. Like I said, this is an experiment. Long term, I don't know if it's the best solution, but right now, 11.5 pounds sound pretty good. Let's put it in. Technically the window's in, but I'm not 100% satisfied with it. It's going up and down fine, but the last probably 1/4 of an inch, it starts to bind, and I think I know why. So up here on this top left corner, there inside the frame is a pretty subtle radius right there. It's a pretty large radius, so I need to round off this corner a little bit because when it goes up, it just has a hard stop. Stops really hard, and then it's not going all the way up. So there's a little bit of a gap. It gets worse towards this front edge, and it's also binding a little bit right down here. So I think I need to remove a little bit of plastic down here and a little bit of plastic up there just to try to get it all the way up. So to do that, I got to take the window back out. It's par for the course. The fit is definitely better. It's not 100% even. Still a little low here on the front, but it's probably as good as it's going to be. If I was to cut this again, I would change the angle of this to be a little bit more vertical because this angle back here is matched, but this one here is just a little different. Even though I followed the factory window, it's just slightly different. So, I don't know. See it? Goes up and stops pretty hard, but that's as high as it'll go. And then getting it to go up and down, hopefully it'll get a little bit better once I take the film off. This is the strip here, and it has the rubber felt on it. And you know, this is gonna scrape up against the plastic, and probably it'll scratch it a little bit each time it moves. And on the inside, I will eventually do some kind of finish strip on the inside that'll also provide some pressure so that there's no rain coming in. All right, the big reveal. A couple fingerprints up there, but you can really start to see from the inside, you can see a little bit of the strip. And that's where I wasn't super happy with the angle on this. And it's not that I don't mind seeing the strips, that's okay. The rivets are kind of hidden, but this angle, like I said, is a little bit off. So if I was to make another one of these, which I probably will, I think I would cheat that angle forward a little bit. You can't really see the strip from the top, especially here towards the back, it's okay. And then this is where, you know, that glue, if you look really carefully, that glue is visible. So I kind of wish I had done it without the glue. The glue is messy if you don't do it perfectly flooded. It's just really difficult to get that, avoid that cloudiness. So lessons learned. I'm not entirely thrilled with the new window. It was certainly a learning experience and the material is cheap. I think this is like $15 for the material. I could have gone thicker plexiglass. It does get expensive the thicker you go. So I think it wasn't available and it was gonna be like triple the price to go with the full thickness. That would avoid me having to put the riveted beam on the end. But I thought this would be lighter and a little bit cooler to do that. Who knows if I'm gonna do this long term. I could always put the glass windows back in, or I could go with a thicker material, or I could just run it like this and see how the material holds up. I am gonna put some protectant on it. This stuff is called graphene infused Max, and it provides, I think, a little bit of protection to the plastic. It provides a barrier. It's still gonna get scratched, but this provides a little bit of a barrier, and who knows? Time will tell how well this works. So this wasn't my best work. I'm sharing it with you guys anyways, as I've done all the gritty details on this car. Don't know how well it's gonna hold up, but I tried, and that's the way it goes. So thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next week.